My name is Marilyn Sexton. I'm Kaitlin's aunt and godmother. This documentary is about her relationship with alcohol and drugs from the age of 12, her secrets, her descent to rock bottom, and her current recovery state since the age of 23. It is intended to encourage addicted individuals and families to never give up.
My name is Kaitlin Sexton. I work for the Edgewood Health Network. I work out of our Montreal outpatient clinic, and I'm currently employed as office administrator.
My name is Mike Sexton. I live in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I'm married to a beautiful woman for 33 years, and I have 2 daughters.
Quebec is the second largest province in Canada with over 8.2 million residents. The legal drinking age is 18 years old. Wine and beer have been sold in corner stores for decades.
I first started drinking at 12 years old. My sobriety date is July 16th of 2014. So I'm just 4 months shy of 2 years.
Kaitlin was born in Montreal and her first home was in Roxborough. After her baptism, she and her older sister Lauren, dad Mike, and mom Sandy moved to a home in Beaconsfield. The family also had a cottage in Lachute, Quebec.
I grew up in a close-knit family. My immediate family, my mother, my father, my sister, very, very close growing up. We would go on, family trips. I had the makings for a great future. I can never look back and say that I lacked anything.
Kaitlin was a great baby, and no issues at all. Slept through the night. We were very blessed.
I think my cottage. I think growing up, spending a lot of time at my cottage, a lot of people would be surprised to know that I grew up chasing, frogs and tadpoles and snakes. But that was a huge chunk of my childhood. I used to spend a month up there every single year in the summertime.
In elementary school, that's when we saw that she was having a little bit more difficulty as far as learning goes. So she had to basically undergo some tests at a later date to ascertain that it was ADHD.
ADHD often coexists with one or more disorders, including disruptive behavior, mood, anxiety, learning, and sleep.
I was with a friend of mine from elementary school. And her mother had a huge 60th bash, an anniversary, so we went down and we grabbed some vodka and juice and we mixed it 50-50 and we went out on the streets of Kirkland. For me, I knew it was wrong. I had fun. I liked to get out of myself. It was different. I don't remember it being anything more than that. It wasn't like a huge changing point for me, but it was super exciting to do something that I knew was so wrong.
This is my high school. I spent many years here. Not so much in the classroom, rather outside. This being one of the big areas, I remember we would walk over the overpass several times throughout the day. There's a dépanneur on the other side that would normally sell us, whatever we needed. Mostly liquor, if we needed blunt papers, rolling papers, anything at all, lighters. There's no scarcity of dépanneurs around the Montreal area that will sell to underage. From the age of 14, I had a fake ID. So did a lot of my friends.
Not really, not that I know of. My dad, my mom, it doesn't seem to be there. Sandy's dad and mom, we weren't choir boys and choir girls, but the whole family, to me, didn't have issues with if you're going to, serious level.
I think that first it was, alcohol, and then, as I said, the age of 14 years old, when I was in grade 9, it was a lot of pot, a lot of speed, ecstasy. On the weekends was, of course, more alcohol. Cocaine came into my life at 15 years old, was the first time. But I just like to be completely out of myself. So there was some, I dabbled in psychedelics. About the age of 19 or 18 years old, I'd say, is where it really shifted. And alcohol became my primary love. I was still mixing it with a lot of cocaine. It was, never one without the other by the end of it. But that was when the binge drinking was at a point where I could not face myself the next morning. So the only way to get through the next morning was to continue the cycle and to keep drinking until my body just physically couldn't take it. So I was more of a binge drinker at that point, about 20, 21, and then I moved off. I moved away from Montreal where it just declined. I think that I was always trying to figure out what was wrong with me growing up. So I did see quite a few psychologists, child psychiatrists, things like that. When I was 15 years old, I attempted suicide. I just took all the pills that I had. So for me, I did go through a huge bout of depression. At 14 and 15, I was on medication for roughly a year, and I wanted to die. So I know that there's some questions out there, and people are always wondering if, there are, especially our youth, whether we're over-medicating them in North America. But I do believe that sometimes the medication serves a really important purpose, and for me it kept me from committing suicide, and I had tried, attempted, got on medication, and it did help me throughout that.
So this here was one of our biggest hangout spots, normally in the summer months when it was a little bit warmer out, but we used to come up here, a group of us from all different areas around the city, and we would just get together, and a lot of the same stuff. I mean, most of my stories, at least I'm noticing it today and this week, is that it was all the same story or the same, get together just again and again. Different people, maybe different faces, but a lot of the same bullshit. Different times. If I wasn't spending time in El Perot, I was with a group here. And it's interesting, I'm looking at the sign now, and the name is Park St. James Park, and I've never known what the name is because we always had some kind of a slang term for any different location.
She took a job promotion out in British Columbia, set up an apartment, and then the boyfriend came from Montreal and lived with her. He got work there, and I assume they did their fair amount of partying, but it got out of hand through phone calls that I finally was able to get from the boyfriend, and I realized that this was a serious issue. That's when I contacted Al-Anon, and Al-Anon were able to put me on to a private institution that could help Kaitlin. We didn't know where to go. So this institution met with us, and basically we mapped out a plan to get her back to Montreal, and we unfortunately had to go through an honest-to-God intervention.
As an addict and an alcoholic, when you're placed in the hospital and the cops bring you in and you're not making much sense, you can't communicate, can't articulate, they put me in something that was called Stretcher Hall, which was all the other addicts and alcoholics just in a hospital bed in a hall. It's exactly as it sounds. It was Stretcher Hall. So we would have social workers and people walk by and just look down on us. So I saw it firsthand. I was there on 4 different occasions in the hospital because they thought I was going to die. The cops had to bring me in. Time and time again, I chose alcohol over everything and everyone. So try to explain that to me. I'm not a mean-hearted person. I think that I hit my version of a rock bottom, but I think that there were certainly many, many more bottoms that I could have gotten to if it wasn't for my family, and the choices that they made and the strength that they showed throughout my intervention, and bringing me back to my city, Montreal, my grandma, which was the interventionist's decision to bring my grandmother along. And it was a smart choice because I could not swear in front of her. And she was probably the one person who was kept in the dark about all the years of my using and abusing. So it was difficult to face her. And I was put up against a wall, and that was probably the best choice they could have made. Disconnected, troubled, lost. I could certainly keep going with synonyms of that.
In 2013, Kaitlin received help for her drug addiction from the Addington Treatment Centre in Notre Dame de Grace, Montreal. The business was renamed Andy's House in 2015 and is now located in Lachine, Quebec.
I work at Andy's House, and my position is I'm the family social worker here. So when people are in crisis, they're able to get their children or their spouse or a family member to make a commitment to get help. So it's usually when there's a crisis, that could mean going to jail, that could mean ending up in the hospital from an overdose. Genetics plays about 50% a part in a person's disease. And also if they have any type of mental health issues, whether it be schizophrenia or just anxiety, depression, it puts them at a greater risk to develop the disease. I think it's mostly on if your life has become unmanageable, you've lost your friends, you've lost your employment, or you're about to. All areas of your life have to be in pretty bad condition. I think what they're seeing is kids are drinking younger. So, and that's a risk factor. So the younger that kids start drinking, the more chances they are of developing alcoholism. Binge drinking is basically 5 or more drinks in one sitting. I think the earlier that people are seeking intervention, the better, because it is a progressive disease. It only gets worse. And whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, it only gets worse. And for women, they're even a higher risk for developing medical problems because of the weight issue. There's usually smaller women. So they develop liver issues, gallbladder, everything.
I was there for probably a month and a half, and I twiddled my thumbs and I warmed a seat, and I really wasn't willing to do any of the internal work. So I would say that it was probably about 2 months into my treatment where I finally realized I'm waking up in the mornings, I'm feeling good, I'm talking, I'm getting honest, and I'm getting real, and I'm clearing some of this stuff out from the past. So that was amazing for me to start to wake up, and the gut-wrenching laughter that I felt in treatment, I had not felt that. I hadn't experienced that since childhood. And that was what I wanted to hold on to, because that roaring laughter that comes up, that's a gift to sobriety.
I was very fortunate to find an organization that was able to take Kaitlin in and give her the help she needed, and also help the family mend at the same time.
I do think that growing up, they tried everything. I went through, multiple counselors, group homes, private and public group home, and I mean, nothing would have worked. I made a choice, and I was very, very stubborn. So I do think that they tried everything that they could, and there's no quick fix to alcoholism or drug addiction. I worked with FAVOR, which is Faces and Voices of Recovery. I worked with them last year, and we held Montreal's very first Recovery Day. So we did it in a park called Girard Park, and it was just a group of people in recovery, and we all got together. Their families came, their children came, and it was really fun to be a part of. We're doing the same this year again. So there was a woman that I had worked with through FAVOR, and her name was Annie McCullough, and so she worked for the company that I'm working for right now. So the connection was made. They were opening up an office here in Montreal, so I received a call back in August, and I was asked if I'd like to be a part of the startup. Determined, loyal, and charismatic. I think that it all comes down to what point they're at, but sometimes you might need somebody to just help you a little bit, help you along, clear some things up. If they're facing problems that you've gone through before, just lend a helping hand.
You just got to go by the seat of your pants, but don't be afraid to pick up the phone and get the help you need. I mean, if I say that 100 times, I would. That's the most important thing, because there are professionals out there. Yeah, they might be difficult to find. Dig under the rocks, but you're going to find them somewhere, and just get them and get the proper help for your son or daughter.
This is my personal opinion. I don't think that anyone can ever be cured completely. I think that so long as I'm vigilant and I stay on top of my addiction, and I do the work that's necessary, because it's not over after treatment. There's always continuous care that's needed. I think I can maintain sobriety, but I take it a day at a time. I mean, there's no way that I can tell you where I'll be in 2 years, because 2 years ago I would have never imagined myself sitting here today with you.